Hello everybody, welcome back to another Python coding tutorial. This video is our second functions practice video where we're going to use functions to get and compare two numbers and determine the larger of the two. So I have the instructions for the program typed out over here at the top of the page, and I'm going to go ahead and read those and then we can determine what it is that we need to do when we're writing the program. Okay, so those say to create a program that contains three functions: main, max value, and read2. The max value function will take two integers as parameters and returns the larger. Note: max value will not contain any print or input functions. The read2 function will take no input parameters but ask for and return two values typed in by the user. The main function will call these functions and display results. Okay, now that we've read the instructions, we can begin writing our program. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to define the main function. So I'm going to say def main. Okay, now all of our main code is going to be inside of here. Now after that, what I want to do is I want to do two print statements telling the user what the program is going to be doing and what information they need to enter. So I'm going to say print, this program will compare two numbers and output the larger of the two. Okay, then after that I want to say print, you will need to enter two numbers. Okay, now that we've done that, we can start getting our input here. So we're going to get our two values, or our two numbers, and I'm going to call those value 1 and value 2. And we can actually get those at the same time from the same function. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to call our read2 function. Okay, and now since that function is not created yet, but we've called it, I'm actually going to exit the main, and I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to create our new function. So I'm going to say def read2 with no input parameters. So the purpose of the read2 function is to get the two values and return them. So what I want to do is I want to say value 1 equals float input, please enter number 1. Okay, now I want to do the same thing with number 2. So I'm going to say value 2 equals float input, please enter number 2. Okay, now after that, all this function needs to do is return those two values. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say return value 1, value 2. Now it is important to note that this order down here is important and it needs to match up with this order up here. Because this value is going to be returned to value 1 and this value is going to be returned to value 2. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go back into the main function and we're going to figure out which is the larger of these two numbers. Okay, so I'm going to create larger value, and then now we want to call the function max value with two arguments, value 1 and value 2. Okay, now I want to go down here and I want to create max value. So I'm going to say def max value with two input parameters here, num1 and num2. And I use different names than value 1 and value 2 so that we can avoid confusion and reuse this function if we need. Okay, now I'm going to do in here an if statement. So the purpose of this function is to determine the larger of the two numbers. So we want to return only one value, so we're only returning the larger number. Okay, so I'm going to say if num1 is larger than num2, then we want to return num1. Okay, and then else, which would mean num2 is greater than num1. This function only works assuming one number is greater than the other. Then we would want to return num2. Now if the numbers are equal, our function won't work. That's going to be a problem, but we don't have to account for that in this program because it never tells us to. We're always assuming that one number is greater than the other. Okay, so one of the last things that we need to do for our program is to go up here and output the results. So I'm going to say print the larger of the two numbers is, then print the larger value. Okay, so now the final thing we need to do for this program is call our main function. Without doing that, none of our program will run and it just won't work because the program will never run. Okay, so I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say if name equals main, then we want to call the main function. Okay, now again, this just makes sure that we call our main function and not a different one. Okay, so that should be it for the program. The last thing we need to do is we need to run it and see if it works. Okay, so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to say run. Let's see, so we have the introduction here, and then we have please enter number 1. I'm going to say 12. Please enter number 2. I'll say 34.5. Alright, the larger of the two numbers is 34.5. Perfect, everything looks good and runs the way that we want it to, and our output looks nice and neat. Okay, that's it for this program, and that's it for this video then. This was our second functions practice video, and if you guys enjoyed this one, stay tuned because I'm going to have more Python coding practices and tutorials coming out soon, so be sure to watch those. Thank you for watching.